He and Corazon had once had a brief romance, but that was a long time ago, and very few people knew his real full name. "Of course I would," she said in mock protest. There was almost an aura of humility about Teresa Corazon that had not been there in the past. She had been a climber and had eventually gotten what she wanted: the chief medical examiner's post and all of its trappings, including a reality television show. But when one reaches the top of a public agency, one becomes a politician, and politicians fall out of favor. Teresa eventually fell hard, and now she was back where she started. A deputy coroner with a caseload like anyone else in the office. At least they'd let her keep her private autopsy suite. For now. She took the bullet over to the counter where she photographed it and then marked it with an indelible black pen. Bosch was ready with a small plastic evidence bag, and she dropped it in. He then marked the bag with both of their initials, a chain of custody routine. He studied the misshaped projectile through the plastic. Despite the damage, he believed it was a .308 caliber bullet, which would mean it had been fired by a rifle. If so, that would be a significant new piece of information in the case. "Will you stay for the rest, or was that all you wanted?" She asked it as if there was something else going on between them. He held up the evidence bag. "I think I should probably get this going. We've got a lot of eyes on this case." "Right. Well, then I'll just finish up by myself. What happened to your partner, anyway? Wasn't she here with you in the hall?" "She had to make a call." "Oh, I thought maybe she wanted us to have some alone time. Did you tell her about us?" She smiled and batted her eyes, and Bosch looked away awkwardly. "No, Teresa. You know I don't talk about stuff like that." She nodded. "You never did. You're a man who keeps his secrets." He looked back at her. "I try," he said. "Besides, that was a long time ago." "And the flame's gone out, hasn't it?" He pushed things back on subject. "On the cause, you're not seeing anything different from what the hospital is reporting, right?" Corazon shook her head, able to move back as well. "No, nothing different here. Sepsis, blood poisoning, to use the more common phrase. Put that in your press release. And you have no trouble linking this back to the shooting? You could testify to that?" She was nodding before Bosch was finished speaking. "Mr. Merced died because of blood poisoning, but I am listing cause of death as homicide. This was a 10-year murder, Harry, and I will gladly testify to that. I hope that bullet helps you find the killer." Bosch nodded and closed his hand around the plastic bag containing the bullet. "I hope so too," he said. 2. Bosch took the elevator up to the ground floor. In the past few years, the county had spent $30 million renovating the coroner's office, but the elevators moved just as slowly as ever. He found Lucia Soto on the back loading dock, leaning against an empty gurney and looking at her phone. She was short, well-proportioned, and 110 pounds at the most. She wore the kind of stylish suit that was in vogue with female detectives. It let her keep a gun in her hip instead of in a purse. It said power and authority in a way a dress could never say it. This one was dark brown with a cream blouse. It went well with her smooth brown skin. She glanced up as Bosch approached and then stood up hurriedly like a kid who'd been caught doing something wrong. "Got it," Bosch said. He held up the evidence bag containing the bullet. Soto took it and studied the bullet through the plastic for a moment. A couple of body movers came up behind her and pulled the empty gurney toward the door of what was known as the Big Crypt. It was a new addition to the complex, a refrigerated space the size of a Mayfair market where all the bodies that came in were staged before being scheduled for autopsy. "It's big," Soto said. Bosch nodded. "And long," Bosch said. "I'm thinking we're looking for a rifle." "It looks like it's in pretty bad shape," Soto said. "Mushroomed." She handed the bag back, and Bosch put it in his coat pocket. "There's enough there for a comparison, I think," he said. "Enough for us to get lucky." The men behind Soto opened the door of the Big Crypt to wheel the gurney in. Cold air carrying a disagreeable chemical scent blasted across the loading dock. Soto turned in time to see a glimpse of the giant refrigerated room. Row after row of bodies stacked 4 high on a stainless steel scaffolding system. The dead were wrapped in opaque plastic sheeting, their feet